morning. It is Flow Chaser Monday. It is 6 a.m. here in the Pacific Northwest, and I will be presenting today a theory on accessing the flow state. Maybe you work a 9 to 5, maybe you have like creative side projects, maybe you're someone with a lot of goals. Hopefully, you'll get out of this 30-minute presentation a really enthusiastic look at the week and your priorities and what you're going to do to get into the flow and stay in the flow as much as possible. Let's talk about it. All right, I'll have like a brief introduction to like what this video is about, an even shorter one about who I am, and then I'll go into talking about flow. But before I can talk about flow and chasing flow, I got to talk about burnout and why these things are so linked. And if you can understand your burnout, you might be able to understand more about your own flow and your own process and what actually feels great. All right. So there's nothing here that I am selling you. I do have a business on the side. This has nothing to do with it. This is just for fun. I'm doing this presentation every Monday in 2026 so that I can practice that consistent coming back to this presentation. And that is a flow inducer for me. So, what you're witnessing is my own experiments with flow with this presentation. And by doing it every Monday at 6 a.m., which is a time that I love because I am very much a morning person. Um, and it's a 30-minute lecture that is supposed to re engage myself, you, whoever's watching this, with the part of us that is authentic and really engaged with the things that we are doing and flow science and how we can start to think about our souls, our individuality, along with the work that we're doing and the flow that we'd like to achieve. It's going to be good. A little bit about who I am. I am somebody who has a lot of personal and professional goals. Like, I don't just knit, I cable knit a long sweater like this picture. I I set these goals to really drive the direction of my life, to challenge myself to like do new things. And what I have found is that in the challenge of doing things that I feel really lit up by, I can engage more with flow. That flow comes back to me in other ways, like my work and my personal life, and this sense of purpose and meaning. It's a lot of really great stuff. And I'm also somebody who has really inconsistent energy patterns. I'm highly sensitive. I feel like every little thing, and sometimes I feel things that aren't even like on the outside. They're just the call is coming from inside the house. And my energy patterns really match that. Like I'm really energetic at one point, and then I just kind of like crash and burn. All to say that there is parts of goal setting and goal chasing that were just inherently not so great for me because that like drive to achieve, to finish, to complete sometimes felt at odds with what I was interested and engaged with mentally. I also have ADHD, so I not only can like have a hard time focusing, sometimes I have a hard time getting out of focus, out of the flow state, or realizing that there's things that are happening in my body that makes it so that I should stop and do something else. All of this to say that there are constraints on my goals and how I achieve them, my energy patterns and how much like consistent energy I have towards those goals. And oh, also, I've been working in a creative year profession, like a business, for in August, 11 years. And that's also like a part of this mix of how my intention and my flow and my goals versus like the flow that I find and the flow that I chase. All right, which means we got to talk about burnout. Before we talk about flow, we got to talk about burnout. I believe that there is a pattern to burnout and it doesn't happen to everybody. I'm sorry. Maybe it does in like some kind of smaller ways, but significantly, I've seen it happen in people with a high capacity. So, people who are recognized as for their ability to do something, to produce, to make another feel a certain way, to, do the thing, to perform. And that's important because that high capacity is praised. And it's not only praised, maybe it's even compensated through work. Like you do the thing, people are like, oh, that's useful. You want to some money for that? And then you do that. Now, what happens is if we are compensated, praised, all the things that are basic human needs for our brains will prioritize that task at the at the detriment to the other things that are important for our soul, which is our interests, what we are naturally gravitating for, like the pieces that we are curious about and stuff. Because our brain is no longer prioritizing those things, the things that really light us up, the things that really spark our interest. It's prioritizing the capacity that has gotten praise because that has a track record of, getting you the applause, getting you the paycheck, getting you the things that you feel like you need. And yes, you do need those things. We live in under capitalism still. It's 2026. Like we need to be compensated for certain things that we do. And when praise is applied to those and we are no longer connected to what we feel is relevant, important, significant, soul-led about those things, then we are disconnected from that part of ourselves, and that is what leads to burnout. And burnout is the disconnection of our inner passion with our external work. And it's quite painful. I'm fairly certain that if you are watching this about flow, that you are a person who cares about like the drive and the force of your life force, of your creative work, of your physical work, and that you know what burnout is. You know what chasing goals are, and you can conceptualize now how different chasing flow is from chasing a goal. Because burnout is so painful, it will lead to unconscious behaviors to get you out of that pain. And so now maybe you're scrolling on Instagram feed a little bit longer. You're finding it hard to drop into the work that you're supposed to be doing. And this is where the pain of burnout really becomes the pain of your life because you know that your energy should be going a certain way and it's just not. All right, we had to talk about that before we can talk about chasing flow because why is chasing so flow so important for you, for me, for all of us? First, we're going to talk about what is flow. Let's have a common language. I'm going to show you like my conceptual model of how I think about flow, which you might find interesting. We'll talk about your brain on flow, like why does it feel so good to be like in the flow with something, right? How to chase flow, and which leads to this idea of like creativity and adaptability. I'll mention Bashar's The Formula, which I believe is the best way of sinking into more flow as a person living in capitalism in 2026. Bashar's The Formula is the best roadmap that we have to getting into these really great flow states. And then alignment as a flow trigger. Buckle up. It's going to be fast and fun. How much time do we have? 20 minutes left? Cool. No problem. Feeling the flow. This is how I conceptualize like what is flow. And there's so many different types of flow. If you've been to a sports game, if you've been to a concert, if you've had a really engaging conversation where you were just like coming up with stuff and it just felt like really, really fire, that is a form of flow. Improv comedy, performing it, watching it, it doesn't matter. You're in the flow when you're really engaged with it. So, a way that I've thought about the flow state, and I've thought about this for quite a long time, is like, what is actually happening? Like, what is that switch over when there's complete focus and absorption, and it feels like you're in the flow state. So it's pleasurable, time kind of fades away. You are so engaged with what you are doing, and maybe there's things that are showing up, and you are taking them into account, and you're kind of moving with them and working with them. What I believe is happening is that we all have this comfort zone, right? And at the inside of our comfort zone is the complete known and safety of this world. It's like on your bed on a Sunday morning, there's no expectations of you. Like you are certain 99.9% that you are safe, that you are comfortable, that you are meeting the expectations of this world. There's nothing unknown that is going on in your bed, and you're just, well, unless you have small children, they can always come crashing in. But you are in the comfort zone. You are in the center of your comfort zone. And then when you're moving out from your comfort zone, which we all do in various stages throughout the day, there are more and more questions. There are more and more, there are less and less known facts or known feelings. And towards the outside of your comfort zone, there's curiosity, but the curiosity is the question propeller that brings you into the flow state. So, the hallmark of a flow state is I don't know what is going to happen. And this allows your brain to have that just juicy mix of a little bit of stress mixed with that curiosity and engagement, and boom, you are in the flow state. And this happens all the way up to this kind of uh, space that has a wide range called the dysregulation zone. And I feel like people might hear this and think dysregulation zone. I never want to get to there. That's awful. And we all do in a lot of different ways. And what I mean by this dysregulation zone, as it means to talk about flow, is anything that gets you from focusing on the external to the internal. And this is a natural conclusion part. Everything of the flow state is this dysregulation zone, and it encompasses everything from I need to go to the bathroom to I am completely overwhelmed, shutting down, panic attack. That is a big range for you. But that's what the dysregulation zone is. It is a natural conclusion where your energy goes from complete focus and absorption into the internal to self regulate. And that's what I believe is like the flow path. We're in our comfort zone. We start to ask questions. We are curious. Those questions lead us into complete focus and absorption, all the way up into the point where we can no longer focus on that. We have to regulate our bodies, we have to take care of ourselves. And this flow state feels really good. And I feel like people don't know you can manufacture this, like you can create this for yourself. And the next few slides will better show like how we can actually do that, how we can drop into the flow state more. And while it's highly individual, Bashar's formula, again, I feel is like the best way of conceptualizing how to get in flow. But when you are in flow, why does it feel so good? As a natural response to your environment, your brain is cooking up all of these free drugs, all natural. This is not like a high chasing endeavor, but it kind of is because you get a neurotransmitter surge all from like asking questions and being curious, or, like you're part of a sports event and it's like you don't know if your team will win. All those curiosities, like, I don't know what's going to happen, like on the edge of your seat. And you're getting dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, and anandamines. And that prefrontal cortex, which is just normally so loud and so judgmental, she is quieting down, and you are having the time of your life in this flow state. And so when you conceptualize flow and you think about what have your last few flow states, what have those been like? Short, long, intense, mid? What was the last time that you really felt like high on your own supply with this flow thing? Think about it, because we are going to talk about how to chase flow. And the unfortunate thing is the way I chase flow, the way all of your mentors and people that you admire and people that you see that are just living the best life, they chase flow differently. You will chase flow differently. This is an individual mechanism. We might all have common goals. We might have commonalities of things that really interest us, but the force of finding your own flow state is understanding yourself and your individuality. I believe there's also a lot of trust and acceptance with who you are. Like, everything you're going through is like perfect and okay. These are the factors that allow a person to be able to drop into a flow state. And the reason that I like this so much more than chasing goals, and I still set and I still have goals. But when I pursue them, when I think about the actual work of doing, I am thinking about how do I use this goal to send me into a flow state? What are the experiences that I feel are part of this goal that are really going to engage all of my curiosity and questions and fire for life? So how you do that? Again, the best formula is Bashar's formula. What is Bashar? Bashar is this channeled inner intelligence by Darrell Anka. He's been doing it since the 1970s. And if you want to go down a woo-woo rabbit hole, this is the best. But this is what Bashar's formula for living a happy life and what I believe is like the best formula for getting into a flow state and sustaining it is. So, first, he says, act on passion. This is so counterintuitive to all the ways that I've heard you do stuff. Like, you have to really just dive in and get it done and all these things. And what Bashar is saying is like, act on passion first. Now, the fear is, well, I'm an accountant and I never feel passionate about bouncing the books or doing this thing. This is what we need to have conversations about. We need to go on walks with ourselves and talk about what about the work that I'm doing, the life that I'm already leading that interests you. Because when you follow your passion, like maybe you can't do that in your 9 to 5, your desk job. Maybe that's not available to you yet. But from 5 to 8:50, whatever, 8:59, you can practice following your passion first. And the counterintuitive truth is that you feel that if you were to act on your passion first, you wouldn't do anything. I dare you to try. I dare you to try. Like, what would happen if you started to act on more of your passions and interests, especially when you are free to? I feel like this is an expression of the soul, and that is a practice that gets easier and easier with time. And maybe you will find that with time of acting on passion first, that it is about your work. That's what I found. I was really trying to find a way to meet deadlines in a more healthy and fulfilling way. And I was worried that I would never want to, or it would never be my passion to do certain tasks. But when I started to understand my own flow triggers, I figured out a way to engage with those tasks with more curiosity. And we know curiosity is a flow trigger. So I learned like a tool set on how to take this thing, get so wildly curious about the performance and the way of doing it and the engagement that I would land myself into a flow state. So, this act on passion first, maybe it's a tiny practice for you in the beginning. Hopefully, it expands and you can trust more and more that when you act on your passion first, you get into more flow states instead of more force. And that feels a lot better. And that life feels better. And that you are not only as productive, but somehow more productive by following your passion first. Two, act as far until the excitement wanes. I believe Bashar is talking about the dysregulation zone. And we know that that dysregulation zone is like vast in that it could just be like, I wonder what's over there. I use the example of I gotta go to the bathroom a lot. And that's because I, ADHD is commonly thought of as like not having the attention span to do things, but we are also known, our brains go into hyper focus, which means that when we're locked into something, it can be really hard to clock the external. Like when we go into that flow state, our brains really enjoy that because it quiets the prefrontal cortex, which can be very, very loud in ADHD brains. And so the excitement waning is from that intense focus, kind of like a pull out of like, it's not so much the absorption of the task that you're doing. It's just kind of like, oh, you're almost released from it, released from its grips of intrigue. And that is when the excitement wanes and a form of dysregulation zone, which just means that the regulation needs to come back into the body and then we can start this all over again. So act as far until the excitement wanes. Natural dip, dysregulation zone, but don't be afraid of that word because it is a very good thing. And then act on passion without assumption of outcome. This is Bashar's way of saying stay curious because in curiosity, you don't know the outcome. But you can't assume that it's going to be one way or there. A creative process, the fabric of it is unknown. And so you can't assume that you're going to have a specific outcome when you are in the flow state, when you are acting on your passion. You just have to show up and be like, I am here, I am in the zone, and whatever comes up, whatever is produced with this, I'm not going to assume that the outcome is good or bad. I'm just going to say, like, this is the outcome of this work. And that helps soothe and regulate the system in order to stay in the flow state for even longer. And you might find that it's really hard to get into the flow with tasks where you are you need the outcome to be a certain way. And a way to work with this is to be flexible on what that outcome might look like, because then you have more curiosity. And that itself is the flow trigger to like get you into a lot of different ways that this flow state can create, right? Four, no matter what is created, what manifests, stay in a positive state. Shit happens when you're in the flow state. When you're creating, there's limitations that come at you. There's new factors. You get that email of, oh, and also this logo needs to have this long text attached to it. Whatever manifest, just say, okay, Like, this is part of it. Stay in a positive state. When you are in a flow state, part of the fuel of it are these limitations and constraints on the work. And when you get really worked up about it was going this way and now it's this way, congratulations, you are now outside of the flow state. You can stay inside the flow state by really radically accepting that whatever constraint or limitation that comes up is the fuel that is going to make this a creative, unique, one of a kind deliverable or manifestation. So knowing what manifest, be like, this is part of it. I have this saying, if it's on your plate, you ordered it, because during these flow states, things can come up as a factor of just asking questions, just being curious. I don't know what could happen, but maybe this can happen. And then you say, like, whoa. And then you have to regulate yourself to be like, okay, this happened. If it's on my plate, I ordered it, and really accepting that. During this process, 5, there will be fears and beliefs and things that come up, like this shouldn't happen, um, this isn't good, different things. You can really work in the flow state with your beliefs and your fears as a way that the work really uplifts and changes your soul. Like, this is where we really like the not the battlefield, but the arena of life where we are engaging with our creativity, we are creating with the universe and making things and acting on our passion, which is unique to our own life forces. And we are being presented with things that we might be afraid of or beliefs that we might have. And now, in the testing and the trial and the participation with life this way, we need to examine our beliefs and release fear. And this is the beautiful encapsulation of the flow that is available to all of us, especially on a Monday morning when we're taking on challenges, when we're asking questions about what is possible for the week, what can be creative, what can be done. This is the arena of life and challenges and like that vitality, that uniqueness that we all want to bring to the work that we create. That's why I talk about this every Monday morning. What better way to engage with life than through these like really great flow states? So, in the flow state, when we are accepting these challenges and flow triggers, I believe it is actually propelling us to go deeper and deeper into it. You know, when you're working on something and you find out, like, oh, we can't do it that way, and then you like rework it and it just feels like fun? That is how the flow state can be really increased or expanded by accepting new challenges as flow triggers. That is adaptability, by the way. When a thing happens, when a constraint happens, when the limitation happens, this is what employers want employees to do all the time, is just to say, great, new challenge. What are we doing? And they're using it as fuel to stay in the flow state. Now, if you are working for yourself or you want to apply flow into the creative process, into your life, maybe into your athletics or things, when you see a challenge, start to train yourself to get really excited, because that is an invitation for you to put your own spin on things. That means, okay, here is a new opportunity for you to bring more you to this project. That's what constraints and limitations are. It's not dooming you or the project is going to fail. It's just presenting you with these things where you can take them and you can then make your creation unique. And that is creativity. That's adaptability. It's resilience. It's self-regulation when things don't go your way or how you expected them or your perception of what the outcome needs to be, and you're accepting the challenges as creative fuel that like, great, now I need to put my own spin on things. That's what you should see as a limitations. This is the confidence that I have tried to really facilitate within myself as a way to stay in the flow state. It's self-acceptance. It's not only self-acceptance, it's radical self-acceptance. In a world that wants you to believe that you should be a certain way, that you have to present a work certain way, that you have to look a certain way, that what you do is never enough and you should always try to achieve more, when you can harness a practice and a self-esteem so deep that you feel capable and ready to go after the things that interest you, to go after your passion, to regulate yourself because you know your abilities and your capacities, and you trust in your ability to access the flow state to generate creations. This baseline confidence is so important in this entire process. And I want you to know that as somebody who has gone from the complete opposite of things need to be a certain way, I need to appear a certain way, and all of the burnout that came with it. Believing more and more that whoever I am, my own stew of talents, experiences, and challenges, is worthy of acceptance and support as the foundation to all the work and everything that I create. When I show up as I am worthy, I accept myself. I accept that I have talents and I have challenges and they're unique to me and they are all worthy of acceptance and support, and that I am capable of going after the things that I want based off of this. And I'm going to do it in the way that is unique to me because I am unique to me and to the world. Don't do our things the same way as other people. And what a blessing that really, really is. All right. Because when we can accept ourselves and the challenges that come up and not take it personally, not think that, oh, this is because I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm lazy, all the things that I used to tell myself, when we can accept those challenges, we are staying regulated. And dysregulation is not a bad thing. However, that our ability to really expand the capacity for staying in the flow state. And I'm going to add, I know we're a little bit over time. This is like the last slide. If we really honor small dysregulations, if we, at the whisper of your body saying, hey, I need something, this will, when you honor those like small whispers, when you're, even when you're in like the best flow state, what happens is we increase our capacity to stay in that flow state for longer in the future, not necessarily that thing. So, what I learned starting to listen to my cues, even when I was really engaged, that like if I started to feel like I needed a sip of water or I needed to like go to the bathroom and do things, that when I followed that, my brain trusted going into these flow states, which are very taxing on your energetic resources. Like thinking takes an insane amount of caloric use. And so when you're in this flow state and you're engaging in this, it takes a lot on the body. And so when your body can trust that when it says, hey, I need something, you will increase your focus during other tasks and stuff. Listening to your body and honoring every signal and plea to care for it in a genuine way, you are expanding your ability to not only drop into flow, but stay there longer. Listen to your body. Dysregulation is not a bad thing. It is the most positive interaction that we have with our human meat suits, that doesn't feel good to say, with our bodies, that our soul is now trying to come through. And when your soul and your body can trust the process, you will expand your capacity for flow. Super cool. All right. That's it. I'll see you next Monday. This is so fun. I hope that you play around with the things that you are passionate this week, that you play around with the curiosity leading into these flow states. What happens for you? What do you discover? And that you honor your cues in your body to take a break, to take care of itself, knowing that this flow state is available to you as a soul, as a human, as a body, whenever you want. You can use these triggers of curiosity and imagination and acceptance and regulation in order to live and create with more ease and more fulfillment. I really believe that this is our soul's calling, is to find the flow state in more pockets of life that really drive us and inspire us as a mostly astrological earth-based human. I'm really focused on like what can be created, what can be made, and what can be made in the flow state not only changes like the external, it changes a person internally too, which is something that you don't really get in goal chasing. How many goals have I chased where afterwards it was like, meh? The joy is in the flow. The joy is in the creation from flow. The joy is in finding and accepting your own uniqueness and your own method of doing things. Have a great week. I'll be back next Monday.